Hello and welcome to Boi Weekly. I'm Kayode Alayande. Today on the show, we consider the Bank of Industry's intervention in the energy sector as we showcase two indigenous producers of electricity meters. Momas Systems Nigeria Limited is the first indigenous company to deploy, install and manage prepayment metering solutions for the Power Holding Company of Nigeria. Ever since then, the company has executed several turnkey projects within the power sector with commendable successes. Now, it has carved a niche for itself as a robust service provider with competent and skilled manpower. On the other hand, Mojec International has been operating in the metering value chain in the last couple of decades. Consistently and aggressively reinventing itself, Mojec approached the Bank of Industry in 2013 to help it position for the market and opportunities that emerged after the power sector was privatized. Now, as a result of BOI support, both companies are leading indigenous producers of smart electricity meters, both for home and industrial use. Stay close for details.
Have you ever imagined a time when you could apply for and get a loan from the comfort of your bedroom? Or prayed that the processing time was shorter? Well, it is now a reality with the fast and swift Bank of Industry real-time online loan application initiative.
The BOI online loan application portal is designed to deliver access and convenience to prospecting SME customers by ensuring that applicants need not have to physically visit the bank. Applicants simply have to submit all necessary documents via the online portal with the liberty to select their preferred BOI state office wherein their applications will be processed. How it works? Simply search the keyword Bank of Industry and download your mobile app from Play Store for Android users, BlackBerry App World for BlackBerry users, and Apple Store for iPhone users. Click on the Apply button. Click on Register to register your account. A verification link and tracking code will be sent to your registered email address. Click on the verification link to facilitate login. Once logged in, you can complete your application, submit and click on Continue to start tracking your loan application. An email will be sent to your email address confirming receipt of the application. With this initiative, BOI has reduced its loan application and processing turnaround time. Start applying for your loan right away. Bank of Industry, transforming Nigeria's industrial sector.
This is the Mojec Meters International factory floor, located along the Oshodi-Apapa Expressway, Lagos. Collectively, the different assembly lines here produce well over 1 million units of smart meters every year, serving different power distribution companies across the country. The installation manager, Mr. Monday Bogu, tells me about the operation.
We have installed capacity of 1.2 million meters, ratio 70 to 30.
When you say ratio 70 to 30, what does that mean?
It means we are able to produce 70% of the installed capacity as single-phase meters and 30% as three-phase meters.
All right, so tell me about the different production lines that you have.
We have 3 divisions: the single-phase, the three-phase, and then we have the CIU, or which we want to call the UIU, User Interface Unit. So those are the 3 subdivisions. The most critical point of the assembly line is that upon total assembly of a meter, they are sent to the machines for test. We have the calibration test machine, which we use in calibrating these meters. You know, they are not like the electromechanical meters whereby you have moving parts. We don't have any moving parts, so the calibration is done by software. After the calibration, the meters are sent to the test lab, where they are tested against all other standards as recommended by IEC They go through the frequency variation test, they go through accuracy tests, they go through reliability tests, they go through tests of meter constants, and a few other multiple tests before they are confirmed.
Shortly afterwards, we sit with the MD CEO, Mojec Meters International, Chantel Abdul, who speaks about the intervention of the Bank of Industry and other industry-specific issues.
Mojec Meters International is a subsidiary of Mojec Global, and Mojec Global is the group holdings company, of which Mojec International is a subsidiary that focuses on our metering business. I think a lot of people in the market knows Mojec as a metering company, but they're often aware, of course, of the variety of businesses that we're involved in as well. But Mojec International, of course, which is the holdings company, started in 1985, and at the time, Mojec was well known under the days, or rather, in the auspices of the Nigerian Electricity Power Authority, and we did a lot of business with PHCN then as well. We were primarily known for metering then. We did a lot of work in transmission, and we were probably one of the first companies in Nigeria to bring electricity meters into the market in Nigeria.
Are you assembling or manufacturing?
For us, we chose assembly. Now we're backward integrating as the market has matured. We produce at the moment at what's known as the complete knockdown. All right, so that's a higher level of assembly versus, so we're soldering, right, onto the motherboard, which you will see as well. We produce a wide array of products. You have the non-smart prepaid meters, which are, again, prepaid meters that do not have that are not smart able, as we say in the industry.
So who are your off-takers?
The answer to that is sort of twofold, right? Who is my ultimate client is the end user. That's you and I, yeah? You and I, those who own homes, those who own offices, factories, malls, whatever it is.
So let's talk about the Bank of Industry. Where did the story begin?
Bank of Industry, as I mentioned, came into the picture in 2011 when we approached them about the desire to produce meters in Nigeria. Partly because we knew that obviously there would be a huge demand. Of course, there was a huge metering gap at the time in 2011, about 80% metering gap in the country, where a lot of homes were not metered in Nigeria.
It will be interesting to hear about your experience at the Bank of Industry whilst you were, for instance, applying for the loan, whilst the structure of the loan was being worked out. What was your experience?
Bank of Industry was probably one of the few firms that I was very impressed with. I'd just come back to Nigeria then, and I was impressed with their structure. I remember BOI, which is known as the BOI had a trust and investment arm, right, as well. And they were willing to even do some of the feasibility and market study alongside us, right, to be able to, put together what was going to be a comprehensive business plan to explain, of course, how, the use of funds, right, the funds utility, and of course the return on investment, etc. I'm excited to state that, of course, what we had on paper has come to pass today. At the time, we had looked to, have a penetration, probably about 50% in the market. But I'm glad to say that today we're at probably about 80% penetration, where we're doing business with at least 7 or 8 out of 11 of the utilities in Nigeria today.
So let's talk about the impact of that intervention by the Bank of Industry, which is run into about 3-4 years now. Where were you in terms of production and capacity at that time? And I'd like you to compare that to where you are right now.
Prior to engaging BOI, of course, we were using our own funds for business. And not just our own funds, but funds at commercial rate, all right? So the commercial banks, which at the time was more single digit, not single digit, double digits, but more like 18% or what have you. Today, if you fast forward today, without BOI's intervention, I would be, funds at 20-something%, right? But to access money at 9%, okay, was a lifesaver right, in Nigeria. And of course, it made everything a lot easier, for us. So obviously, the acquisition costs for all of our equipment that we so desperately needed, right, for our production process, was a little cheaper to achieve. And also, it also gave us that, as I mentioned again, that soft landing as well, because we had that 1-year moratorium, all right, in our repayment, all right. And that 1-year moratorium, I think, helped with the cushion. As I mentioned to you, in 2013 to 2014, there was very little business being done, right? So it helped a lot then, because we probably wouldn't have been able to make the repayments.
Tell me about the terms of the loans you're servicing with the Bank of Industry.
We went for a 7-year term, what's known as a term loan. All right, it was a 7-year term loan, 1-year moratorium, and of course, by the second year, you begin to pay down on the principal and the interest. So I think we applied through them in 2012, and I think we got disbursement the same year actually, and it was rapidly disbursed for us as well.
I'd like you to talk about any set of challenges that are unique to you as Mojec, producers of electricity meters in that value chain.
At the time, we had quite a few challenges, which of course, again, as I mentioned, we sort of pushed open the doors and made sure that we could get policies to be on our side. Part of that was ensuring that local producers were supported, and supported wholeheartedly first before any importation. Also, the ability to access financing, pardon me, not financing, but Forex. In the days where there were issues, all right, we had to make a case, all right, to the CBN and to the government that manufacturers, and particularly the power industry who relies on us, it's important that we'll be able to access foreign exchange, so that we can be able to fulfill our LCs and of course make good on our obligations or our contractual obligations to the utilities.
Now, there are about 3 to 4 electricity meters producers between Lagos and Ibadan. It must be stiff in terms of competition, isn't it?
Mojec benchmark itself on international standards, right? So I feel like I compete more internationally or with international companies and we like to set the pace in the local market.
Policy drives everything. Are there aspects of existing policies that you would like the government to address?
I think we can definitely always do better. And I think to push things along even further, like you said, we've made some progress, but we're not there yet. We're still definitely not there yet. And in order to do that, I definitely think Capney should be reinstated. I believe he was recently reinstated, and if anything, I think the government needs to sort of get behind it, and so that if Nigerians are willing to, just as you are willing to buy your phone, feel free to come and, to be able to pay for your meter, right? And the government should also support with funding, not only have access to working capital, but also be able to extend more credit and longer term credit. And that's really where we need to go.
Have you ever imagined a time when you could apply for and get a loan from the comfort of your bedroom? Or prayed that the processing time was shorter? Well, it is now a reality with the fast and swift Bank of Industry real-time online loan application initiative.
The BOI online loan application portal is designed to deliver access and convenience to prospecting SME customers by ensuring that applicants need not have to physically visit the bank. Applicants simply have to submit all necessary documents via the online portal, with the liberty to select their preferred BOI state office wherein their applications will be processed. How it works? Simply search the keyword Bank of Industry and download your mobile app from Play Store for Android users, BlackBerry App World for BlackBerry users, and Apple Store for iPhone users. Click on the Apply button. Click on Register to register your account. A verification link and tracking code will be sent to your registered email address. Click on the verification link to facilitate login. Once logged in, you can complete your application, submit, and click on Continue to start tracking your loan application. An email will be sent to your email address confirming receipt of the application. With this initiative, BOI has reduced its loan application and processing turnaround time. Start applying for your loan right away. Bank of Industry, transforming Nigeria's industrial sector.
Momas Systems, way back 1995, started as an ICT company. And the emphasis is to develop an application packages and to maintain the then computer then, because computer are larger devices at that point in time. So it requires a competent engineer to be able to manage those devices at that point in time. And we are positioned to address some of the challenges facing the computing industry at that point in time. The same thing that led us to the issue of prepayment, when they're now conducting a pilot scheme of a prepaid in NEPA then at Island District. They were looking for a competent engineer that will be able to sustain and manage the backbone of prepayment metering, which is computing essentially. And I was choosing to be the best because I was able to repair the then faulty database at that point in time. And that's why we find ourselves in sustaining the pilot scheme of prepayment as far back as 1997. While doing that, we started representing the company that did the pilot scheme, which is Conlong in South Africa. And having represented them very well, having learned so much about the entire concept of prepayment, when the project is now being under a new phase, and it was a new phase of leadership. I think it was President Olusegun Obasanjo then that said, let us expand the scheme of this pilot scheme of prepayment so that we'll be able to generate enough revenue on the downstream, because there was a lot of revenue leakages on the then NEPA then. So they are looking for devices that will be able to guarantee cost recovery, which is basically prepayment meter at that point in time. And they now brought in a lot of players into the scheme, but have been very consistent in terms of sustaining the ideology of prepayment at that point in time.
You have gone through quite a number of interesting milestones in the entire journey of Momas Systems Limited. Now, how have you been able to secure funding for those various milestones?
When we started 1997, especially on the pilot scheme of prepayment meter, we have been depending on commercial banks ever since, borrowing at a very high interest rate. But basically, we use that to import all those meters at that point in time, because we do import all the meters since 1997 up to 2012. I was importing meter, and it has been through commercial loan. It was 2012 I now approached Bank of Industry when I conceived the idea of building a factory in Nigeria. That look, the metering gap in the country is so large that it requires us to start manufacturing these products here. For a country that have a population of 170 million, for a country who has more than 5 million metering gap, do we have to import all this meter? And that's my presentation to Bank of Industry. And they were able to applaud that decision that yes, at least we have somebody who is bold enough to take the risk of building a factory, because setting up a factory in our country especially is like taking a very big risk. So it was funded by the Bank of Industry with my own little contribution and some other commercial bank altogether that brought in this factory today. And the support from the Bank of Industry has been very, very encouraging.
As you have explained, as at the time you approached the Bank of Industry to secure this funding, it wasn't essentially some kind of funding that they were used to, because it was a new phase the country was going into. Now, how did the Bank of Industry approach you as an entrepreneur who is bringing on a kind of business that they had never funded before?
Yes, they conducted their due diligence on us, because when we approached them for funding, the first thing they did is, besides the presentation of the document, they engaged us in interactive session, and they discovered that we are build of knowledge. We are house name of knowledge when it comes to metering. Because there are two aspects to electricity meter today. We have the software aspect of it, and we have the hardware out of it. The hardware is the physical meter you see. The software application are equally developed by us. I'm confirming to you, prior to our development, they used to import whole billing application from America. I was the first Nigerian to develop a billing application used by the disco today. And I'm also the first Nigerian to develop prepayment application certified by STS Association to be used for prepayment. So I don't see any reason why we should import any form of billing or prepayment application to the country, because we have the best here. Now, the hardware. I'm also the first Nigerian to develop a purely made in Nigeria electricity meter for the country, because our brand is our OBM. It's original brand manufacturing that we created. We are not selling anybody's brand. We are not selling any overseas brand. It's our brand designed by us for Nigeria, and taking recognize of all the peculiarity that we have in the country into the design, so that it will last, it will be able to sustain our fluctuation, it will be able to address all the anomalies in our electricity supply. And that's the reason why we designed that meter for the country, and it was purely funded by Bank of Industry.
I'm curious, what is the current metering gap that we have in Nigeria?
The metering gap, to the best of my knowledge, is more than 3 million today, but I'm sure it's more than 3 million. But however, since we started production of electricity meter in this country, we've not been able to meter 500,000 in a year. That's to tell you how we are underutilizing the capacity that we have. The electricity factory that we have in Nigeria today is sufficient to meet all the metering gap sufficiently. But I think the hindrances is funding, because we must be funded adequately for us to be able to meet the metering gap.
Tell me about the nature of your loan with the Bank of Industry. How many times, and are you fully liquidated?
Specifically, is in millions, closer to billion that I've taken from Bank of Industry, and I took it in two tranches: the long terms loan and the short term, which is the working capital. Those are the two loans I've been managing. On the short term, the working capital, I've been paying back bit by bit, and we are restructuring it. The determination to keep this factory going is unshakable. So we want to make sure that whatever it takes to position our factory to be able to serve the metering need in the country is undoubtedly the best things that we can do for our nation.
So many Nigerians are still without electricity meters. Is that not an indictment on Momas Systems Limited?
The issue of no meter is not true. That we have meters sufficiently to address the metering gap, and we have the capacity. But the policy issue is what they need to address, because if DISCO did not fund us as a manufacturer, we cannot give them meter. An individual doesn't have the right to buy the meter directly from us. So, and that's why we're saying that let us look for a level playing ground, another scheme that will act as an intervention to be able to address the consumer need, because consumer is the issue at hand now. They are being deprived of their right. Part of their right is to have electricity, part of their right is to get meter in their premises. You are giving them estimated bill, you are depriving them from having electricity meter. It's not fair on the consumer side.
Leaning on your 4 to 5 year experience with the Bank of Industry, are there things you would say you're not really satisfied with in terms of the services of the Bank of Industry? and that you like to be part of your feedback, your honest feedback to the bank? Any things you really like them to work on?
Yes, I think it's an oversight on the part of the generality of financing any industry, not protecting the market, because financing anybody to produce any product and now facing the competitiveness of importing all kind of things, it becomes a major challenge, considering all other local challenges that each factory has, like electricity, like labor, and so on and so forth. So if Bank of Industry is funding any form of factory, including somebody like ours, they should try as much as possible do an advocacy to protect the market for them. It's very, very crucial, because that's the only way their investment will not go into jeopardy.
There is really no use struggling to grow your business all by yourself. The Bank of Industry is a willing and able partner. Knock at their door today and you'll be amazed by the amount and quality of financial and technical support that you can access by partnering with them. For more on how to secure the Bank of Industry's intervention, visit any of their branches closest to you or log on to their website at boi.ng. You can also apply for loans online. Simply download the BOI SME Loan app from the Google Play Store and follow the instructions. Feel free to tweet at me at KAY Alayande. Previous editions of the show are all available on youtube.com. Just type Boi Weekly in the search area and they're all there for you to see. And that's a wrap on the show for today. Many thanks for watching. I'm Kayode Alayande. Bye now.